With that, we bring in retired four-star General Jack Keane, former Army Vice Chief of Staff, now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and Fox News senior strategic analyst. General, always good to have you with us. Thank you for being here. Let's put up on the wall here the weaponry that has been deployed to the Middle East right now. It's an impressive array of American force. Take a look at this. F-22 Raptors, F-A-18 Super Hornets, guided missile submarines and destroyers, Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles, and the USS Roosevelt and Lincoln carrier strike groups will now both stay very close in this region. So, General, the first question to you on this is, will that work? Is that a deterrent to Iran, and does it give Israel the cover that it needs?
Well, a couple things. Yes, we have thickened certainly the defense of Israel with the capabilities you just suggested. The Lincoln strike group is en route, would take another week. But if this escalates beyond a retaliation attack by Iran, and we've got something more serious taking place, likely both strike carrier groups would stay in the region. So the mission, as stated by the Pentagon and the administration, is one, to make certain that the assets are there to defend Israel, and there's more of them. And I think the reason is they suspect through their own intelligence that they believe that Iran's attack will likely be larger than the 300-plus drones and missiles that they used the last time, will likely also involve, to some degree, their proxies, possibly Hezbollah for sure, maybe the Houthis and the militia groups going after U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria. We don't know that, but I think our intelligence services probably have a pretty good feel for it. Whether it's going to deter Iran or not, I doubt that seriously, and here's why. Iran conducted an attack on April the 13th to stop Israel from killing its leaders. And they killed a number of military leaders in Damascus on embassy grounds 12 days prior, and that produced that attack. And what has Israel done as a result of that? They did a modest re-attack around a nuclear facility. An air defense system is what they took out. I mean, that was a pinprick, obviously, done to send a message to Iran that we're not escalating. But the truth is, Netanyahu has stepped up his game, and it all stepped up after he came back from his visit to the United States. He has gone after high-value targets, killing multiple leaders in Hezbollah and killing multiple leaders also in Hamas. But most significantly, he took out the political chief of Hamas. That's significant in itself, but most significant is he took him out in a high-security zone, in a VIP guest house, in a general vicinity where government officials live. The message to Iran that Israel is sending, if I can kill a leader who's in your capital city on a temporary basis, I can kill your leaders who are there permanently. He has penetrated their security forces. Their security forces repress the people, keep the regime in power. This is significant for the supreme leader and his allies. He has to make certain that his leaders are going to continue to support them, and they're not unnerved by this. So that is why this deterrence is not going to work here. They are going to attack.
All right. We'll see what that looks like in terms of the attack into Israel and where that goes. I mean, I think all Americans are sitting up and taking a lot of notice to this. When you see the movement of our assets into this region, obviously all those young men and women are attached to families here in the United States. This is the question that Lucas Tomlinson just asked at the Pentagon briefing. Let's watch.
Don't you need to send a clear signal about what Iran, if they do it, if they cross it, you will attack them?
I think we are sending an extremely clear signal, which is that we are going to support the defense of Israel.
If you do this, launch this major attack, the U.S. military will strike back. Why can't you just clearly say that?
I think we've been very clear that we're going to support the defense of Israel, and I'm not going to speculate about potential future attacks by Iran.
Okay. Quick reaction to that, if you could, and then I want to squeeze in one more if I can get it in general. Go ahead.
Well, the administration is not doing what Tomlinson is seeking. He's talking about, have you told the Iranians that if you attack U.S. forces again, after all, they just did it recently, wounded 5 soldiers and 2 contractors, we will attack you directly. We haven't sent that message, not at all. If we did, you would hear something different out of Ryder's mouth as a result of that. Okay. We have had hands off Iran for the 3+ years, and certainly hands off Iran directly since October the 7th.
How likely, President Biden recently said in an interview that he thinks there is a potential for ceasefire on his watch in the waning months of his presidency and the return of hostages, American hostages among them. How optimistic are you that that can happen in the near term?
Well, as long as Sinwar is still alive, I doubt it's happening. He's rejected the idea that there should be some negotiations this week, Thursday, and Israel was willing to participate, and he is not. And for the last 7 or 8 months, he has pretty much shut all of this down. Why is he doing that? Because he thinks time is on his side. He's watching the Americans push back on the Israelis. He's watching an arms embargo on the Israelis. He's watching the international community push back. He sees all of that as strengthening his side.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wonder why the administration and the vice president are tougher on Israel when it comes to this back and forth than they are on Hamas. And so we'll continue to see where this goes. Very tenuous situation. General, thank you very much. Good to see you as always.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.